everyone, welcome to Living La Vita Loca podcast, a millennial gaming podcast for some of your millennial gaming needs.
Sure.
My name is Fazz.
I'm Rich, I guess.
I'm Fee.
What are you doing?
Well, I feel old now.
What's wrong with you?
I heard the type of gaming that we talk about the most described as millennial or millennium or gaming.
Millennium game. Yeah, all right. That's fair.
Which I was like, I figured in this podcast specifically, we've got a few more sort of. But it's a free play fortnightly, and I've got a newer game, and you guys are bringing a newer game to the table, so it felt a bit wrong to kind of go with the retro gaming. So, and I saw it described as millennial gaming. Clearly, from Fiona's face, she's disgusted by the idea of that.
That was 25 years ago, so for what we're discussing, you've missed the boat by like a quarter of a century.
Yeah, that's true. But then that's
even by your own logic.
Yeah, but my game. Yeah, okay. When that's the problem. You see, I describe my game as a newer game, but its roots are well within the millennium.
Okay.
Oh, right. Okay.
So
Fair
it's
enough.
like, yeah.
All right.
So anyway, breaking the ice on that shit show. Fucking hell. I've done this for about a month, and it's like, oh god, fucked it. Right. Okay. So anyway, hi. So free play fortnightly, but I know what you're playing.
Yep.
So I want to make you guys go first because I think it's a joint effort. I believe. Which I'm very excited to hear about.
Which is code for Fee's going to talk and I'm going to occasionally chip in.
Which is fine. That's exactly how it should be in the marriage. It should be. So, tell us all about the game that you guys have been playing over the last month.
We've been playing a shiny new game by your guys' standards.
Mm.
We've been playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which came out in December 2024 on Xbox and more recently on PS5. I think like last couple of months, and we've been playing it on Steam through some kind of contraption that Rich might want to tell you about.
Contraption?
It was a Steam Deck.
It was an Indiana Jones contraption.
Yeah, we haven't had it on the Steam Deck, but we played it through the NVIDIA's GeForce Now streaming snazzy thing to make it look really nice.
So does that mean you've got a PC copy and a PS5 copy?
No, just a PC copy.
All right, okay, fair enough.
I've just done my homework.
Sorry, right, okay.
Oh, yeah, no, she's done way more research than that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've got this written in my notes as Indiana Jones and the thingy thing.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
That's not even a joke. Look.
No word for lie.
It's, the thingy thing.
I think when I suggested that we did, it was like back in December 2024, and I was like, I'm going to have a little bit of time off, like we've done all our games this year, and I'm going to have a little bit of chunk of time to play Indiana Jones. So I have played a bit, but only a 6-hour bit. Indiana Jones, I think I said this time, is like Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favourite movie ever. And I love the Indiana Jones trilogy. I even quite don't mind like the 4th and 5th films. And we've done Indiana Jones Lego before on the PSP a long time ago. When you hated on Lord of the Rings, that's fine. And I think I remember saying in December that I was gonna play some of this, like I say, and I kind of liked it a bit, but I at the same time, being a massive fan of indie, I still wasn't. It felt like fake indie to me, so Findy crispy pancakes. I need something to inspire me to go back to it, or to inspire me to not go back to it. So this will be good.
Just quickly then, what makes you say fake indie?
That sounds a bit stupid.
Is it the fact that it's not Harrison Ford?
No, not at all.
Because it is literally a fake indie.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that people say about the game is that Troy Baker's absolutely incredible, and you can't tell the difference between him and Harrison Ford. And I agree with that. I don't know really. Help me coagulate my thoughts around that, and I'll try and come back to that. I do have
we'll get
something.
To that stuff
I think.
anyway.
Yeah, all right. We'll talk, and you tell us why we're wrong.
No. I think
all right, field talk. I'll open the sweets, and then we'll go from there.
I think you'll help me. Right.
Right. Got the cake bites open.
Sort us out.
Go.
Okay. So, we're going to try and stay spoiler-free where we can. There's a lot of stuff in the trailer, so there's some stuff we think is safe to talk about. I was so surprised and pleased by a lot of it. I don't want to ruin it for anyone. It's still quite new. So it's set in 1937, so that's between Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade. you meet up with Indy, who uncovers a sinister plot when his mummified cat is stolen. He has to go find some artifacts that grant great mystical power, and he sets off on this globe-trotting adventure to get to the heart of the mystery first. So really standard Indiana Jones fare. And it all kicks off, something's stolen from his museum. So in like just the weirdest bit of packing I've ever seen anyone do. And I kind of count all those times, like, do you know when you're a kid and you're away from home by yourself for the first time, and you don't really know what to put in your suitcase, and then you get there and you realise you kind of fucked it? There's always something you've forgotten that deodorant exists, or that you might need more than 2 pairs of pants for like a week of holiday. Indiana Jones, like in this game, does a worse packing job than that. He basically packs, like, I think his whip, a notebook, and a jazz CD in the emptiest fucking briefcase
Jazz
ever.
CD. A 1930s CD.
I remember
like
that
a vinyl, okay, a vinyl, an LP.
I am concerned about the smell that must emanate from his leather jacket. Like, his jacket must absolutely fucking
see
stink.
some miles of it.
Like the Nazis are always like, oh god, what is that coming out? Jesus.
So yeah, that's kind of your setup, and then we're gonna not spoil like the exact MacGuffin or any of the exact settings, apart from the couple that are really obviously labelled, like in the trailer and stuff, or any of like the specifics of puzzles where we can. So we'll do our best to work around that. But yeah, we could start with the gameplay.
Yeah.
Maybe. So, okay. I don't know, Fazz. I'm disappointed that you were a bit mad about this, because I think I've come out of this thinking this is like a perfect game to share as well, because you've got loads of different aspects of the gameplay. It's all first person, which is pretty good, and it's got, you know, a bit of traversing, but it's not like designed to be a platform or anything. It's not like your old Tomb Raiders where you have to very carefully back up to the edge of a particular bit of square rock and jump to the next bit of square rock. You've got fighting and stealth, which I'm universally bad at in all games. Rich, however, adequate.
Yeah.
It's gone in the CV.
Yeah, adequate.
Mediocre. Great.
Yeah.
And lots of puzzles, which I really like, and Richard gets bored with quite easily.
I would punch the puzzles.
And one of the things that's really cool is that I don't think I've seen this in another game, so I'd be interested to know if anyone else has, but when you start in, it's quite common these days, isn't it, for games to have like a difficulty setting choice. I'm old and boring and have a job now, so I often put it on easy because I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
So we did that. But also, this one has a separate option for your sliders for combat difficulty and your puzzle difficulty. So we can keep the puzzles at like your normal difficulty, but just, you know, romp through swathes of Nazis with 2 or 3 punches, which was a really great thing.
You want to be the big damn hero.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And, you know, who doesn't want to be the big damn hero by punching some Nazis in the face?
Did I find... So these are the thoughts that come back to me. So did I find the difference between the puzzling and the open worldy kind of bit of the Italian part of it, and then all of a sudden I am just like punching Nazis in the face quite... and almost like it was a bit of a weird sort of jump for me almost, in a way. Like, so I think it's probably the point that you're making there, Rich, where you're like, oh, I'd rather punch a puzzle in the face. I feel like Indy would rather punch a puzzle in the face.
No,
like...
incorrect. Seen all the stuff he does with like all the stuff in like Egypt with that staff and the light. That's kind of a classic one, isn't it? I know he fucks it, big style, but he does that thing with the bag and the pressure plate.
He is a thinking man's thug.
Yeah. And I think that's what's really great about Indiana Jones as a character, is he is really intelligent, top of his game, but also he does fluff it in end-up-in fistfights. And something that we talked about quite a lot when we were playing is that actually the fighting feels really true to what I kind of have internalised as Indiana Jones style, which is, I don't think he is really that great a fighter. So a lot of it is improvised weapons. You can basically pick up anything, you know, spades, brooms, like candelabras. There are guns that you can pick up off of people, but to be honest, they'll get more people's attention, get you killed more easily, and also feel a bit weird because it's not like Harrison Ford did run around kind of gunning people down really regularly.
I mean, I'll refer you back to the guy with the sword in Raiders.
Single
and they just
shot.
One guy.
Single shot.
It's one guy.
He's definitely had loads of machine guns and stuff. Like, he's definitely had shots at people, I think.
Oh, he's had shots at people.
But it's not the main thing you think of, is it?
Yeah, we're not talking like he's rampaging around like it's Call of Duty or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what I liked. I think that the guns were there as an option, and if you'd been more into them, you could definitely have used them more. But it felt really satisfying. The way that, because you're a first person, the way you sort of punch people felt quite satisfying.
Do you do it with the triggers? Is that
like you've got a kind of a little sort of short dodge that you've got on one of the face buttons.
Yeah,
and you've got like a parry block type combination on one of the other on one of the bumpers.
Yeah.
And it, like, just to properly wade in, like, one of my favourite things in video games is when you have that like really fun kind of emergent gameplay where it just gives you the tools, and then whatever weird insane stuff happens is on you. And I feel like this is great for that. Like, it really scratched an itch, and like if you play it like a kind of immersive sim rather than a combat game or what have you, and you go in, and I think where it got its hooks in me early on was there was this one bit where I was learning how to be stealthy, and it went great. And then it
doesn't sound like it did.
And then a guard saw me, and I just reacted and threw this truncheon at his face, managed to run up and then knock him out. And I was standing looking down at him, and I specifically said to Fee, like, "Oh, that went really well." And then I looked up, and there was another Nazi just there watching me do this. I was like, that feels like Indiana Jones. That feels like an Indiana Jones-esque moment.
Yeah.
And after that point, I was like, yeah, this game is gonna like give as good as it gets with the kind of situations that I'm gonna find myself in.
Okay.
When I'm kind of exploring these places and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, like it's I found it to be like engagingly sort of flexible when it came to the combat, and you could approach it in a bunch of different ways, which I appreciated.
In terms of the I don't want to call them levels because they're not really either. They're obviously, flying around the world and things like that. Because I'm aware that there's so I know the tutorial is this way and it's quite linear, and then you kind of get open worldy sections, but you get linear sections as well. That I've not got onto, if I'm going to be honest, as you know, of them. That is in which seemed to play better as the indie. Like, is it more? Is it better to kind of have that emergent gameplay where you're running around and different things happen to you, like around the map, or is it kind of like when you get a bit more of a linear level and there's more puzzles to go through?
Can I take this first?
Yeah.
Or do you want it?
No, I've got thoughts, but after you.
All right. I like taking it as a whole. Like if you take it as a whole, it feels like very cinematic pacing for when those linear bits pop up.
Okay.
And I think that is a strength of the game, and I think that speaks to a development team that were confident of the idea, confident that they could pull it off, and confident they could put together a story that was going to engage you enough in all of these different bits and bobs. So the linear bits pop up at the right times to be linear, and then you're past them. If you want to go back, you can. There's stuff that you can poke at, but by comparison to the open world bits, there's not nearly as much in the way of like puzzles or side quests that are going to halt the pace. So for playing through the main story, I think the pace is bang on.
Okay.
And then it's those open world bits where things deliberately slow down in the plot that give you the kind of space to go and explore and poke at stuff and do the puzzles. And then, you can muck about as you like once you sort of get into the rhythm of it.
And I'd say as well that until you described them there as the linear bits, I didn't feel like that at the time because, again, I don't want to say where they are or anything like that, but there's stuff about the settings in the bits that are a bit more linear and a bit more, you're going through quite a specific plot-driven task rather than you're going to hang around, meet some kooky characters, do some side puzzles. So there's stuff about those locations that mean you don't feel like you really should be hanging around.
Yeah.
Either for story reasons or for location reasons. So it doesn't feel at all like a misstep or a sort of, I'm thinking like Final Fantasy 15, right? Because I always think about Final Fantasy 15.
It's a day of the week ending with why.
But famously in that, it's very, very open world. Then you get this horrible bit where suddenly it's like, boom, you're just in a race towards the end. You're basically going down the video game the corridor, and you can't have fun anymore. But this isn't like that. They're there for a purpose. They're a bit more narrative focused, I think, and tightly on the plot, and it just moves things along.
And even then, just to go back to what I was saying about emergent gameplay, there was one point in one of those linear levels where I had a gun, and I was like, I want to keep this gun.
Yeah.
And so I was involved in a puzzle. And
and
doing the puzzle, but then I had a self-imposed puzzle on top of the puzzle where I was also trying to throw the gun around in the right way so that I could keep the gun and take it with me. And I managed to bloody do it, but then I completed the puzzle and lost the thing anyway. And it was like classic, I spent all that time doing it. But like, again, the game was flexible enough in that kind of linear moment to still give me some wiggle room.
Yeah.
And give me a reason to explore a little bit off the beaten track and also still dick her out.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, fighting good. I mean, I had some scrappy, desperate moments that felt very Harrison Fordy, like kind of, oh, what is this? Like the slightly comedic moments, like I was being chased out of a shower block by Nazis and ended up trying to like desperately find the button to pick up this like shower scrubbing brush and chuck it at their heads and things. You do get options for stealth that make your life a little easier. So in each of the sort of main, more open sections, there's one or two disguises that you can pick up. And one thing I really liked about that was, A, it's not Hitman-ish. You're not finding a person and taking their clothes.
Yeah.
Because we all know the in-world Indiana Jones reaction to that is it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And they also kind of come with a key. So...
Oh, yeah.
If you're dressed, like in the first location, it's in the trailer, the Vatican, you end up dressing as a priest. Again, we've all seen that clip. And you get a key for like clerical areas. So it's not a sort of thing you have to find. It's just by finding that outfit, you've also now got access to certain different areas.
Yeah.
And there's still an element of challenge because different people, often like high-ranking officers or something like that, will be able to see through your disguise and be like, wait a second, I know your face.
Yeah.
But actually the scrub guards and things like that will just ignore you as you walk past.
It's just like you say with Hitman, the same with this. It's just like people get paid a certain pay grade to be like, oh, wait a minute. That guy looks American. Like, I said, it's bullshit. It's like, that's how they get picked in the Nazis' ranks. Like, if you're in the SS, just to got a keener eye. Like, it's just like...
So that kind of brings me on to like progression, which I thought was really interesting in this game. So this game, I guess, I was struggling how to sort of categorize it because it's not really like we said, it's not like a first-person shooter. It's not really an RPG as such because it's Indiana Jones. You know who he is. You're not going to be making different choices to what he'd be making, really. So what they've done is really neat. There's no skill trees. There's no awkward armor stuff to think about. You don't have to upgrade your fedora or like armor plate your whip or have a weapon that you can use for 2 levels, then you have to ditch because you've got a better one. So there's no sort of creep in from like that RPG stuff, and you don't really get XP either. So you don't ever have a moment where this weird humming sound plays and there's like a golden glow around Indy and you're level 4, not level 3.
I mean, Indy's 100 XP anyway, right?
Well, exactly.
It's not just maxed out. It's just like already maxed.
And what they do instead is there are like instruction manual type books that you can find sort of in universe, and they're slightly different looking depending on which country you're in and things like that, which is cute. And when you find them, you are able to unlock them whenever you want and gain an ability from them with adventure points. And adventure points are basically the more things you do, the more things you discover, the more puzzles you solve, the more bits of plot you progress, the more adventure points you get, and you'll spend, lower numbers of adventure points on the initial skills that might just be something like hit slightly harder. And if you want some of the fancier ones, like I think we ended up with the lucky hat, where if you get knocked down in combat and you're dressed as Indiana Jones in his like normal outfit, and you can scrabble around and find your hat on the floor, you can coolly like have an animation where sort of dust it off and put it back on and give like a little sly smile at the camera, and then most of the time in our experience, still stand up surrounded by fascists.
I was going to say, yeah. So can't wait to get my ass kicked again.
Limited usefulness for that one, I will admit. But there's things like, you can whip someone and pull their weapon out of their hands. And there's a lot of stuff that's cool, but it feels grounded in a way that I was thinking of like Assassin's Creed, you know, where theoretically often your protagonists start off as quite normal characters, but then by the end you're picking perks that are like literally set yourself on fire and Spartan kick your enemies like 400 meters. And all of the things that Indy gets as level up kind of perks, I guess, feel very just like a normal evolution. They don't make you feel massively stronger, but they just give you a few more options, I would say.
Yeah.
Which I liked.
How much of that kind of stuff is found within the main thrust of the plot, and how much of it do you have to go looking for? And so obviously from describing the Lucky Hat, and I remember that from when I was playing that, is in, so that feels like it's not important or anything to have that. You could play through the whole game without having that, for example. That is in what I'm trying to get at really is that whilst they're not progression as traditionally, as you say, does it even matter even if you can just ignore it completely and carry on? Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, how much would it affect your gameplay if you didn't pick anything up?
I don't think any of these would really stop you at all. You still got all the basic things. None of them are like things you have to do to get better. It's not like, I guess, you know, something like Skyrim where you have the options of either putting your perks into lockpicking or you're going to be spending a lot of time and money on lockpicks and trying to like curse at the screen until you get the right jiggle on your controller.
As far as I know, it's not like anything's gated.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I don't think, you know, there's you must be able to punch this hard to progress the story, or you must be at least this level to go fight this thing.
Like a little whack-a-mole thing in the corner, like test your strength.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's anything really like that. There were a couple of...
Hey, there's one of those in Snake Rattle and Roll. I like that game. That's
There were a couple of combat encounters later on that actually felt more like puzzles rather than anything to do with character progression and stats or anything like that.
Okay.
So, you know, I needed to redo a couple of bits because I wasn't reading it right rather than the character was under-leveled, which I think is an important difference.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
In terms of... no, I'm going to let you carry on. Sorry,
Okay.
you got a question about story and stuff, but...
without
trying to spoilery, but
we've got more stuff on story later.
Okay.
So I also want to say what I loved about this game was there's no crafting.
Oh yeah, that's
nice. You can repair your weapons if you want to, but we never had to. But if you really want to, you can. And that is literally just you get a repair kit that you find in the wild and you just press a button to use it and boom, repaired. It's not like, you know, Fallout, you're scavenging through everyone's house to find like different types of pencil lead or whatever it is. So none of that stuff. There is no crafting. The thing about not needing armor upgrades or anything like that as well. I hadn't realised until I had a game that didn't have it how bloody nice it is to not have that.
Let's take back all that Oblivion
but I think
and
it's
Mass
quite
Effect
brave
bullshit.
these days.
Come on.
I feel like everyone's jumped, you know, to lesser or greater extents, even if you're not like a full-on RPG, it still feels like a lot of games have that aspect of, you know,
it puts me
get
off.
this upgrade,
really,
or even sometimes spend your own money to do it. Like,
it puts me off massively even thinking about it. Like the grind of an RPG, just like before I even pick one up, I'm like, no. Like, there was always more chance I was going to play this, and still might play it all the way through, than I was going to play anything else like of that ilk, really. So that is good to hear. Yeah, you're right.
And then my favourite part was the puzzles. I love the puzzles. The puzzles are so good. I can't really tell you any of the puzzles, so it's really hard to describe. But puzzles, basically, so you've got your main plot, which you could just rocket through. Nothing's really stopping you. You've then got a thing they call like field work, which is chunky side quests. And I would say those are really great. They're often... maybe 3 or 4 a level. They're often to do with the side characters in that level. They've often got some cutscenes. There was one really, really amusing one that ended up with a bit where, you know, Indy dressed as a priest has to like get involved in a confession, which goes about as well as you'd expect. And so there's some real like humour in some of that stuff that you wouldn't get if you just sailed on through. And then you've also got the puzzles, which you spot in the wild in a lot of cases. So you will often end up somewhere and spot a weird note. You can pick it up. Everything that you pick up to have a look at It's got that sort of thing where you can twist it round, so there might be stuff on the side which you pay attention to. It might be a statue, and if you turn it over, there's some
I remember
symbols on the
you
bottom
did
or
like a bit
something
of
like that.
investigation around it.
Yeah, and often there's a few other bits in that area that might help you piece together A, what the puzzle is, and B, what you're then meant to do to solve it.
Okay.
So often they could be things like opening, find the combination to a lockbox. So I guess kind of like an escape room style thing almost. But actually what was really good about these was that there's a real variety of stuff, and it felt really like place-based as well. So, if you were down in a temple, it might be more like, how do you win this ancient game that you found in there to get a door open? There might be some utterly bonkers like hydraulic contraptions in some of those ancient tombs. And if you're up in the Vatican, it might be more stuff about like, well, you've got some statues in the picture and what do you need to do to kind of match these up or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was a really good balance for me of satisfying enough because you had to think about it. They weren't all the same. It's not, I don't want to go back to Skyrim again because I love Skyrim, but it's not a puzzle game, is it? So, it's not that thing where you're like, oh, I know this one. This is the one where I've got like a serpent and a bear and whatever that moth thing was. I actually need to look at the wall and find a picture, and it's the same in every cave. These really were different. And
what difficulty do you say you played?
Just the normal ones. So I think puzzles were like normal or easy.
Okay, so you couldn't go any harder, right?
No.
I was wondering what they would do to make that happen.
No, I did try and look it up, and I couldn't find much on how the puzzles got easier. But certainly in the game, there was some interesting ways to get hints that we didn't use too much well at all. But there's a camera that you get. A little anachronistic, maybe. I'm not sure on the first handheld cameras.
I mean, it's basically a Polaroid.
That's the way it's treated. But you can, if you're at a puzzle, you can take a picture of it often, and there's an option to press another button to then generate a hint from it, which I think would then give you more of a direct. So what I'm looking for is this sort of thing.
Do I remember rightly that the puzzle difficulty tied into the navigation as well, or was that treated separately? With like combat or something.
But we could talk about the navigation because that also was a really interesting choice.
Go for it if you're done with puzzles. Sorry, I didn't mean to move you on. It just suddenly occurred to me that I
never done with puzzles. But yeah, just to say they were really, really good, and they were thinky puzzles which fit the character. They weren't all just mechanically move these things to open this thing or figure out this tricky traversal. It was more, you felt like the puzzle had something to do with the location, which made you feel like more of an archaeologist, and it's all I ever wanted.
Yeah.
Okay. There are a couple of puzzles.
That's all I ever wanted.
A couple of puzzles that I worked out the solution to that Fee didn't, which made me feel really clever. That never happens. It was great.
I feel like often I didn't know. I was just letting you.
Fiona's currently staring at Rich quite sternly.
Wow.
No, you did very well.
Thanks.
This is a question for me then, because other support characters. Looking at Richard, support characters like in traditionally, Indy has support characters around him, and in the movies, they vary in their strength. Here, I've not really bumped into any in my sort of
decent.
By the time I kind of got to any, so
decent, better than Indiana Jones 4.
Oh fuck yeah.
It's a low bar.
It is.
Yeah, I thought the main kind of side character that you go through with, was really good. A good foil for him. Like there was good chemistry. Like also quite adventurous. So you're not in a Temple of Doom scenario.
Thank God.
I think the only minor gripe. The only minor gripe I had with them was like sometimes when you're with them and doing some of the plot kind of sort of temple-y, ancient ruiny bits, they're quite quick to tell you what to do. Not in terms of solving the puzzle, which I appreciated, but in terms of like, oh, I think there's an exit over here. And sometimes I was like, it's just so beautiful. I'm just standing here enjoying myself.
Yeah.
I don't need to move on just yet. It's okay. I'm not as eager for this plot as you are. That's my problem, not Indy's problem.
I did find that helpful on more than one occasion, though.
But it did.
Like, not many more than one occasion, but it did have its uses.
But again, it's like a natural thing, isn't it? So, like, it's in a natural way of navigating.
Yeah.
It's like, like, it might realise after 3 minutes, it's like, you've been stood still for quite a long time now.
Well, that's what's quite nice about it as well, was because of the way we were playing it and the setup and all that kind of stuff, there was very little like clutter on the heads-up display and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you're relying on maps and what's in the journal, and you know, you get the map out, and that's how you get the marker for where you need to go in the world.
Yeah.
And then yeah, you just have to go find it, and then it sort of quietly disappears, and you're just left with that really like immersive look again. It
might be. I've got more stuff on characters we can come back to, but I think I did want to pick up on the UI stuff, like the lack of heads-up display, because I thought it was amazing. And you can set it up in cinematic mode, which we did as well, which is really cool, which gives you the little letterboxy kind of thing.
Yeah,
which is, you know, adds to it, I think.
That is nice, yeah.
And the map, I've not really seen this in a lot of places, so it's really, really tidy what you have. You've got just your health and stamina sort of down the corner in like quite a single blob they've like built it into. I think you had like a little objective reminder at the top just of what you're meant to be doing, like the sentence.
Occasionally I think it would discreetly disappear.
But you've got
old man Indy remembering where he is. Just like, been hit over the head so many times.
And your map and everything else is in your journal, so this was such a good nod to like The Last Crusade, because it's a proper old. If you get your map out, your hands come up in front of you, and you've got this journal. And if you want to switch between maps, the pages flick over.
Okay.
And as you go around, as you're taking photos, as you're opening up different bits and having different experiences, you'll find that it populates as well with some of the little photos or little sketches that he's drawn, and all of your notes that you've picked up that might be like puzzles and mysteries go in there too, so you can refer back to those. But it all feels like they've really designed it well to make it like you are looking in your book. And as Rich was saying, when you open the map, then you can see your objective marker on the map, and you can also sort of see it at the top of your screen as well, so you can sort of like wiggle yourself around to where you're pointing. But it just makes you feel like you're actually exploring a lot more, which was really, really fun.
It's nicely immersive. It's another like there's so many of those nice little touches that just kind of draw you into that world a little bit. And like having the journal thing is for anybody that's played like Uncharted and stuff like that, it's not like a massively unusual thing. Plenty of things have ripped it off, but there is something really, really satisfying about an Indiana Jones journal being populated in front of you, looking like an Indiana Jones journal. You sound like you hate it.
No, I just does it not just slow the gameplay down?
No.
That isn't so.
Fazz, no, stop! It's a slow game, son.
Exactly, that's what I'm hearing.
It's
deliberately a slow game.
Yeah,
you're being Indiana Jones. You want to wander around and like be like, oh my god, where's the fucking market? And have a little look by yourself, and then look at your map.
But this is what I was trying to get at when I said about the linear bits that you touched on earlier. Because those are the bits that are, like, if you were watching it as a film, those would be your action sequences. Whereas, you know, the slower bits are by design like that. And that is what I really appreciate. Yeah. Like, they actually thought about it.
Yeah. Okay. All my point was just that I feel like it depends on who you are and whether or not that is. So the immersion, I'm hearing there's a lot of great immersion, but then my thought process, I appreciate that you spoke to me like you were my dad for the first time on the podcast. That was like, okay, I see how this is. But it was like, so Indiana Jones, what I love about, certainly for Raiders as well, is that it is non-stop. It is just, I love that it just keeps, it never feels like it loses a rhythm to me as a movie. Like, as in, whereas
it doesn't.
I feel like I can't remember now, do you have to press start or something to pull your map out? And to see, that's kind of like what I'm saying that might be a bit different for me, is almost that, and that's not what I was trying to get out with the fake sort of indie at the start or anything, but it's just like, I'm then aware I'm playing a game because I'm pulling up a map and stuff. It's like, whereas you guys are seeing it on the complete opposite, where it's like, it's not, it's a different feeling about it.
I would take having those moments where you are having to pause and flip through the journal and think your way through a puzzle as being inherent to the rhythm of an Indiana Jones story, whereas it sounds like you're saying that it's not, I'm not saying that's wrong, obviously. It's just horses for courses and speaks to the broad appeal of the films, right? Because everybody's going to find something they like about it. And I think this the game is very, very good at trying to tap into a certain thing. However, I do completely take the point that it is perhaps going to be more of an acquired taste than a film might.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I'm not saying that's how I necessarily feel. It's just something that came in my head to question, to say, actually, is that something that might put people off because it's the opposite of what I feel about a certain thing about Indiana Jones film. But
you're going to need some kind of map, aren't you? I think that's, ultimately this is a game, and I think that was the best way I can think of they could have done it, to give you an option so that if you do want to have, I think you could switch it on. I'm pretty sure there's a setting to like have it a bit more on your screen.
Yeah,
that's
like
what I mean.
above your head,
Can you do that? And
I think you
so.
can. Yeah, and we turned off as much as possible. Because it asked you loads of stuff at the start for like accessibility and how difficult you want this particular bit or not.
Well, that's great. That is in, so that the fact that you can do that,
customize it.
Which I didn't. I mean, I haven't played for 6 months, and like I say, I've only played 6 hours, but I couldn't remember whether or not that was an option or not. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure there was like a good solid 4 or 5 screens of options. So it'd be like A or B.
It was a very long one.
Kind of stuff. But yeah, I think that again for me that shows a fair degree of maturity on the developer's part and willingness to give you an experience that you can tailor to. If you want your Indiana Jones to be running around with machine guns, then you could probably actually make that happen to some extent. If you want him to be a stubble stroking archaeologist that's going to mumble to himself constantly, then you can make that happen.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I wanted to go back to characters just because I had some more notes. So, again, without going into too much who they are, but the side characters are really, really good. And, he's got a friend in the Vatican who just, like, is a delight to hang out with. And there's a menacing, shadowy figure in the great tradition of Indiana Jones, menacing vaguely supernatural, shadowy figures. It's not really a spoiler to say the baddie's a Nazi, is it?
Not really.
Baddie's a Nazi. But, he is scenery chewing, and he's got that, but in a good way, in a way that I feel is like film appropriate. And he's got that classic kind of thing of, viewing himself as the cultured man who almost respects Indiana Jones's expertise and all that sort of stuff. There's that kind of sort of cat and mouse thing going on, which was really enjoyable. And also a little shout out because there was a little bit of queer representation, which is always nice. Very like just shoved in there. It was like hang on, that makes it sound like it's forced. It's absolutely not. I actually meant the opposite.
Yeah.
I mean, it's put in there like really naturally, like woven in. And it just was really nice, to see that, more of that. And we have to talk Harrison Ford. Because I think I had my doubts because I hadn't seen much of the stuff before I played it and the adverts and things. And I was a bit like, man, Harrison Ford's so good. This is one of those few franchises where they've not, given it to somebody else and James Bonded it.
Yeah.
And
they tried. They were going to try and give it to Shia fucking LaBeouf.
Yeah, we didn't talk about
that. Thank God they didn't.
But no, it's just amazing what they've done. So, the voice acting is so good. Even the little incidental bits, like the way he says "huh" a couple of times, just sounds really like it is in the films. The humour feels spot on for the character. It's not laugh out loud funny, but there's definitely a few bits that make you kind of chuckle. And the what do I call it? A sort of motion capture, I guess. Yeah. Whatever they've done to make his face. That's really good.
How you make a face?
Made him
I don't know
clay.
these days. Computers in it, but they've made him look really true to Harrison Ford in a lot of those kind of, I guess, more like the charismatic things, like the sort of like the little smirky smile thing that you see him do a couple of times.
It's all those incidental details.
The way he moves when he puts his hat on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's chock full of those little incidental details that just help sell it to you, I think.
Yeah.
And Troy Baker, just smashes it. He really does.
He nails it.
And to the extent that we kind of watched the trailer last night just to check what things we could spoiler comfortably, and I'm convinced that between the dialogue they got in that and the final version that's in the game, they've just like, I don't know, upped the bass in his voice or something like that a little bit, and he just like in the trailer he sounds close. In the game, I swear he sounds closer. Either that or I was just like 30 hours in that, and I'm just like, well, you know, there's my new indie, and yeah, it's a really impressive job, like genuinely impressive.
It's interesting to see how well received it has been. To think that immediately it won't be hard for them to make another one, like as in Germany, because it's like, absolutely. Oh, the game's been well received, and everybody thinks, you know, it looks like indie, sounds like indie, smells like indie with his terrible leather jacket. Like, as in, you know, it's
I think this is how you carry the series forward.
Yeah,
like,
well,
don't bother making a film.
Yeah.
No.
Don't bother with a film. Just do this for like the next however many years, and then worry about it.
Yeah.
I think they've found a way forward.
And that kind of brings me on as well to kind of how it looks and feels just overall. So the look of it just was like incredible. The detail was amazing. Until I got used to how the game worked, there were a couple of bits in the early game where Rich had to sit there and be like, this is you, because I hadn't really realised, because it's so smooth, the transition from a cutscene to you in a lot of cases, that I hadn't really realised that it was me and I was meant to be in, because I was still like, man, this looks great, doesn't it? It's nice to be here.
I do remember that, how they had like just the little beautiful musical cues that kind of just run into the gameplay, and like you say, you do kind of just go cutscene straight into what you're doing. You're like, oh right, it's just so well made in that fashion.
The music as well, actually, I made a note, because I think, you know, music's so important in video games, but also it's so important to Indiana Jones, isn't it? Because I feel like the films had that like weirdly magical meeting point of just so many people just at the top of their game at the right time coming together, and like the music's a huge part of that. So the guy who has picked up the John Williams baton is Gordy Harp, who's done like an amazing job, and a lot of it, you know, video game style, like a lot of it kind of is background stuff, and then there's these more cinematic moments where you get these big sweeping bits that sound like bang on, like they could have been a sort of John Williams, and then occasionally you get little bits of that theme tune, so you're like, I am Indiana Jones. And I think that for me is, again, great attention to detail, great commitment to making it feel very cinematic still, and I think kind of one of my overall takeaways from this is like how restrained they've been. Rather than over-egging anything, they've reserved bits. So you get that sting of theme tune at a couple of key moments, enough to make you go, yeah, we're back, but not enough to make you go, this is kind of cheesy. Yeah,
it's not a rerun or anything. It's, that's such a good point about things that homage stuff. It's almost like you give enough of what everybody wants to hear, but you make your own thing of it as well.
Yes, and I'm really glad you've used that word. Because that's exactly what it is. The whole thing is just an incredible impression, ultimately, which is why I was kind of curious about.
And that's maybe what I'm trying to get
at. And I think that's a really interesting point. And the reason that I didn't try and probe that earlier on too much was because, for me, ultimately, this is possibly one of the greatest pieces of like homage and impression that I've come across.
I was going to say impressionism, but that's something different.
But like you've got the voice actors managing to sound like Harrison Ford. You've got the animators managing to make them look and move like Harrison Ford. You've got the guys working on the soundtrack and the score making it sound right. You've got the lighting looking right. Like it all is just riffing on what has come before. But holy hell, does it do such a good job of making it hang together. And it would have been so easy. And this is the bit that I kept coming back round to when I was trying to work out what was the kind of one point I wanted to ram home about this, was that if you're talking about like homage, parody, pastiche, whatever, it's so easy for those lines to get like trodden over. And it's so easy for it to suddenly fall over into parody or use the theme tune too much or use it at the wrong time and things like that. Whereas in this, it uses it like it would in the films. And like they've done their homework. Like it is made with so much reverence. Like they really, really have managed to put it together in such a considered way. And I think that was really impressive.
And not too much reverence either. They know what they know what is the spirit of it and what makes it fun still. Because I think sometimes things can go the other way, can't they? They can almost be like too loyal to it, and it's just a bit dry.
And that's why I was
do anything with it.
The sort of map thing, I was a bit like, how far have they gone with it, and like, how different is that from what I think of Indiana Jones? In so much that, you know, like I see the boulder barreling down through the caves and the jungles, and you know, I see him, you know, jumper on the front of a truck in Cairo and stuff like that. I think of all the fast-paced moments. You know, him fighting the giant Nazi in front of a plane and stuff like that. That's what kind of gives me my adrenaline rush and things like that. And maybe maybe there's two different types of fans of Indy, and you kind of, you know, maybe less about the considered moments where he's looking at his dad in a photo back at the college or his home and stuff like that. And I'm maybe less about that, and maybe a bit more about the swashbuckling,
I think
quipping craziness. But
so that because we watched Indiana Jones 4 last night as well, just for because I had a bet all the way through that this is the Indiana Jones 4 that we should have had. And I stand by that. And case in point, he doesn't stare wistfully at any photos of his dad. But you know, hashtag my Indiana Jones is the guy that is going to find the old tomb underneath Venice and do a rubbing of it while murmuring frantically to himself about something that he saw in somebody in his dad's research, and then somebody else saying about how he's giddy as a schoolboy and stuff like that. Like that, all that kind of stuff just permeates this game. And for the puzzles and things like that, because so many of them are side content, they're not shoved down your throat. What you got to bear in mind is that we spent so long on these because I was fucking playing it with Fiona.
I wouldn't let him leave the levels like that.
Honest to God, like
I made him buy a special map so I could find them all.
Yeah, like there were times where I'm like, well, I would like to progress the plot now. If we're not going to, you can play it.
No.
And all that kind of stuff. So like, you can approach it in so many different ways.
Yeah.
I'm reasonably sure if you barreled through the main story, you would probably spend about half as long with it as we did.
Yeah.
And even then, there's a bunch more side stuff we could do if we want. But you're starting to get into the realms of collectibles and stuff like that aren't really of interest. But the point is that for those, we'll call them two groups of Indiana Jones fans, I think the game does cater for both of them, just in slightly different ways, and you just might have to go looking for it a little bit.
Yeah, and there are some great set pieces. So again, we can't spoil it. Like there was one in particular that we both looked at each other when it happened, and admittedly, a lot of the big set pieces happen in the cinematics. You know, like because you're going to fuck it up.
Yeah.
But we looked at each other on the sofa and we're like, God, they'd never have been able to film this when the first films came out. And also even now, I feel like it would be a tricky act to do kind of what they were showing happening. Yeah. And I think you get a load of, I mean, there's so many traps. Not really that you, interestingly, not that you have to deal with. I remember Tomb Raider, like back in the day, the first couple, where like every few steps you'd be falling through a floor and just getting impaled. You don't have to deal with too much of that as a player. You're more likely to deal with kind of traversal issues where you've got your whip wrong and you sort of try and nobly soar over a bit of thing and you let go too soon, you just fall too far.
Or you kind of bounce off an awkward angle of ledge that you thought you were on, but not quite.
But there's plenty of big set piece things, you know, kind of like that classic Raiders bit where something will go wrong in the tomb to mean that you just can't turn around and get out. And those are really satisfying. The characters all react in the way you'd hope. There's often a little bit of humour in there, and I think you would find what you were looking for if you're after that spectacle as well. There's plenty of it.
I think maybe I'm just you're making me realise that I think I've just turned so cynical as I've got older, and if something is so uncanny, I'm so suspicious of it. Like,
you know what?
If something is so Indiana Jones, I'm a bit like,
So this is the best cure that I've had for jaded gamer syndrome for a long time. Like I was looking forward to playing this.
Yeah, this has been a treat. We've been eking this out over a few evenings, and it's been great.
This is not something that has happened often, right? In recent years, and I definitely think that this is probably the first game that I've played where I've looked at it and gone like, "Oh, we are in the next generation now." You know, it actually feels like maybe you probably couldn't have done all this in the same way on a PS4 or what have you. Whereas plenty of other things that I've seen or played, yeah, you could have. It just wouldn't have looked quite as nice. Whereas this, I think there's enough clever stuff, be it physics or the way that materials moving and stuff like that, and the lighting and the water effects, like, oh, holy hell, the lighting.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff, and some of the texture work. And you look at it and you're like, oh no, I get it now.
Yeah,
I think maybe we are doing something with the extra power in these consoles and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, I got a real sense of that, actually. You've put that so well, as usual. Of the wider gaming community feeling that as well. Like, so you could see the way that people were waiting on bated breath for this to drop as a day one on Game Pass, or even 6 or 7 months later, I'd see so many people buying it on PlayStation 5 or PC, and you kind of, it's funny because that's the first time I've seen it in a long time where, so obviously a bit of an exclusive to go a few months earlier and stuff, where people are, oh, we've seen what this can do elsewhere. We want this now. Like, our console.
This is the one that you get to prove to people why you invested in a PS5, or this is the one that you show to people to impress them of what your really snazzy high-end computer can do. I absolutely get it. And you couple that with the animation and how it all just hangs together so well. Yeah, really impressive.
Sorry, Fiona.
I was just going to say, and I think they've used a lot of what the system can do to really create an atmosphere as well. So you did feel like, I felt genuinely creeped out in some of those underground tomb bits where you're there with a torch, and sometimes you have to choose between keeping your torch and trying to get over a ledge or something, and then I realised later I could have thrown it. That's my top tip. Don't be me.
But
be indie.
But exactly. All that speaks to that emergent gameplay thing again, where and Indiana Jones would have looked at that and gone, well, I'm throwing this shit. But the game never tells you to do it. It's just an option, and it's up to you to figure it out or give it a go and see what happens.
I haven't heard many or any drawbacks at all.
I've got one.
We made some just because we need to ask.
In fact, I've got two.
I'm thorough.
I think I've got some kind of I've got a final argument for you, but we'll come to that after I've done the gripes. So they're really minor, and I'd say for me these would not, say hypothetically, knock any points off a hypothetical scoring system. But these are things that minor things. I'm not great at the best of times at controls, to be honest, still. And because we were playing it through your setup where it was like a PlayStation controller attached to your Steam Deck.
Oh, yeah.
So the buttons didn't always match like what they were prompting you on the screen. It's like X wasn't necessarily my X sort of thing.
Yeah, so we were still getting the Xbox controller prompts.
Oh, right,
and the Steam Deck
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Rather than PlayStation controller.
So that's not to do with the game. But nonetheless, what this resulted in was very early on, your stuff goes missing from your museum, and you're standing there trying to put things back and figure out what it is that's been taken. And I kept on picking things up off the floor and then not figuring out how to put them in the proper place. And then Indiana Jones, Professor of Archaeology, was just chucking these items bodily on the floor.
That's what it'd do. It'd be fine.
But this is kind
Marcus, clean the shop.
What do I pay you for? Why is Marcus? Anyway, whatever. But I think that does happen in a few other instances. Not chucking things on the floor. That's my own stupidity. But there is still that thing where video games famously still can't do that thing where you have a thing in your hand, you hand it to somebody else, they take it in their hand and you see it all. So, when you do have to give people stuff, you are generally speaking looking for a clear bit of desk to put something on. And sometimes that wasn't super obvious where to put it, and we had to figure that out through trial and error. But I don't think it's just this game. It didn't really destroy anything for me. It's just a minor point.
I'm thinking back to Killer Frequency and how that was like. I played that on PlayStation 4, but that was still clearly VR controls that you should be using. You should be picking things up with your hands and stuff. And that is something I think I did, excuse me, kind of feel with this was almost, that's what I was thinking about with the triggers for fighting. And it feels very tactile in what you do, but that uncanniness again, where it's almost like, does that feel, they're trying to make it feel real, but then that you get that little noticeable thing where it's not real.
Yeah,
Like,
so much of it feels like it is a step removed from being a VR game.
yeah.
Right? And then, you do get these little moments of artifice where you kind of get caught on the fact that, well, actually, you are still going to have to interact with this through a controller, or you can only hand this thing to this person by putting it on the desk, or what have you, which, does pull you out of the illusion a little bit, but at the same time, I don't think is so bad.
No.
But it does kind of tie to one of the... If we do you mind if I go in with a gripe?
Oh, yeah, no, go for it. I know what you're going to say.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're
I'm
not?
not.
Okay,
You can
okay.
do that one.
Okay.
I think my big gripe is that for all of the kind of freewheeling improvised combat and all that kind of stuff, I would love for them to somehow take it further next time and like have more like physics objects and tables that move if you bump into them, or you can hurl a chair at someone and they'll react. Things like that. And like it feels so churlish to say like, oh well, I want to be able to throw more things at Nazis rather than just the array of objects I already can. But it's the fact that the game does such a good job of making you feel like you walk into a room and like scrap your way through any situation.
Yeah.
I would love to see them
Even
take
more.
that to the nth degree. And that's probably down the line for a sequel or what have you. But like that will be the point where I'm like, yes, we've arrived. And I think
so that's not almost even perfecting it either. That's almost taking whatever they've made magical,
honing it, refining it. But I fully appreciate, given what they've achieved and the consoles and kind of PC specs they're working with, I fully appreciate that might be like a PS6.
Yeah.
We've finally got the spare headroom on the computing power to make it work. But that does kind of tie into what you were saying about those moments of artifice where you're having to put things on the desk and all that kind of stuff. Because I imagine that when you get to the stage where you can do some of those extra bits around the physics and the world that I would love to see, you're probably getting to the stage where you can actually just hand someone something and things like that. So, I kind of feel like my biggest gripe is not necessarily something they can solve with a sequel. Which kind of still leaves me as a happy camper.
I was going to say, it's not really a big gripe, is it?
No, it really isn't. But there is one other thing.
There's one other thing.
There is one other thing.
Right, indie over there.
And again, it wouldn't make me take any points off it, but it was just a thing I noticed. And I think with both of these things that I picked up on, like, they're only gripes really because I knew I'd have to find some to satisfy you. And also, so you're thinking several steps ahead like an archaeologist would. But also,
I've been here too many times.
I think,
yeah.
I think it hammers home just how in the world I was and how smooth everything was and how stitched together. There's no load screens, all of that kind of stuff. You're just smoothly through it. Everything makes sense in the world. It's all interconnected. And then you stealth and you can see your hands. Obviously, you can see your hands, but you can see your hands a bit too much. It's almost like weird, like sort of Mr. Burns sort of like...
kind of like weird
I
little...
don't know.
Almost like little T-Rex arms poking out at the bottom of the screen.
It's almost like you're seeing a little sort of doggy paddle, but like at his eye level. There's just something a bit weird about where they've positioned them. And again, super minor, but
it is
noticeable.
It's again one of those things that just takes you out of the illusion, just that little bit that can, I think... You can take one of two ways. Either like, oh, you ruined the vibe for me, or you can take it as, fuck me, the rest of it does so well, but I didn't even notice it.
That's why I'm sat with that, because it's such a minor thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I just speaking about breaking illusion, that is, there's a couple of things that I did that I was thinking, because like you say, it's so passable as real life. That is, and so I used a whip to go across the ceiling one time above like sort of 3 or 4 Nazis that would definitely have seen a grown man doing that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't so far hidden in this stealth mode sort of thing, and it was a bit, but then it's a video game, and then also I think one time when I was again in the Vatican and I was running from about 30 Nazis that had pissed off everybody basically, and I just kind of found my way up a drain pipe, and they were all just going, huh, like isn't that video game sort of thing where the AI hasn't thought again to look up. And I'm a bit like, like that feels like that would be like the next generation where they know to follow you like over verticality rather than just sort of like run into a brick wall.
So I think there was one, and I hope this isn't too spoilery, but like later on, I did, because I was that guy that was running away and like going around a corner and either changing my
Speaks
disguise
to how
or
shit
just
we are.
like climbing a drain pipe in the Vatican. Later on, that did not work.
Oh, right, okay. Fair enough then.
If you're throwing things at Nazis,
So Nazis
they
level
start
up,
to move out the way or pick them up and catch them.
Oh, right, fair enough.
Like, so I think
so there is evolution there.
I think there is. And I didn't drill into it too much. I probably should have, but I got the impression that a large part of that happening in the Vatican and being possible in the Vatican was because it was so early in the game, rather than necessarily a flaw.
Show you what you can do.
Yeah. I think they were trying to like give you a bit more free reign to experiment and get it wrong in a reasonably consequence-free environment. But that said, we did run into a couple of bugs. And like little graphical glitches here and there, and there would be times where people, are basically looking at you and then being like, and all that kind of stuff. And given the number of moving parts that this game is juggling at the same time, I think that's to be expected, all things considered. It's certainly like I've played far buggier, far smaller games.
Skyrim.
It's the whole thing. I think was very, very, very genuinely impressive.
Okay, fair enough. Fiona's already put a point across about not losing points.
Closing remarks. I've got closing remarks.
Oh, you're close.
Yeah, of course I have.
You really did come prepared.
I did. Well, I really loved this.
We'll never get rid of Phoenix Wright.
She nearly cosplayed for
He
this
taught
as
me
well.
everything I know.
No, Indiana Jones cosplay were very impressive.
Well, I've got my adventure shirt on. I did almost borrow Rich's like brown leather jacket, but it's quite warm today. So, also it's a podcast.
But apart from that,
so I think we talked a lot about all the stuff that we liked, and I think for me it had real heart, and it sucked me in, and it gave me that feeling of, oh my god, this is the fourth film that we never got, and it made me think. And I think that's not always that normal in a video game where it's this kind of video game. Often it's like, this is a pure puzzle game and you are going to be scratching your brain the whole time in this, whereas this was, little puzzle, little punching a Nazi, and also, side note, this is probably a really good time in human history to remind ourselves that we should be punching Nazis and fascists. So, timely, a game whose time has come.
Remember, kids, punch your local Nazi.
Yeah, if you see a fascist, pick up your nearest sponge and whack him in the face with it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But yeah, I think it did make me think, and a really good example of this is that it wasn't just the puzzles. It was also, there was one example, and I don't want to spoil it too much, but I was so het up on the solving mysteries juice, right? At this point I was like, I'm going to solve these all, I'm going to find them all. And I'd, solved a bit of a puzzle, I'd interpreted some weird symbols to find where I was going on a map, and I was like, yeah. And all of these notes had also, with hindsight, carried some hints that maybe all was not as it was laid out to be. But I was like, yeah, fucking solving this. And then it quite literally blew up in my face. And even that was a great experience, because I was like, oh man, the game knew that I would be like, yeah, I'm in the zone. And if I properly Indiana Jonesed it and been like, wait a second, what are all these hinting at? I'd have been like, this isn't safe. But I was like, no, the puzzle is mine. And so, it was, that stuff was really good, and it showed me that they'd really put thought into all of their little puzzles, and were really committed to not ever giving you that feeling of being the same. And I think that's the bit I want to hammer home, as well as, it had that feeling of being really true to what made the original film so great on every level, but that it could so easily have gone too far and been too pleased with itself, and everything about it I felt was just really tight and streamlined. You've got that really clear user interface. You don't even save it, it's just auto-saving at checkpoints, and that's so clean, and everything you do kind of makes sense. There's a logical progression to the plot, nothing outstays its welcome, the quests aren't too similar, even your side quests, because they're so wrapped up in the place, or they're so wrapped up in the characters, they feel genuinely different, pretty much all of them. You know, there wasn't any point where we were like, hang on, this is the 5th archaeologist we've had to help out. There wasn't any of that kind of thing, which it could easily, if it had put a few more in, it might have started to recycle a bit more.
Do a kickflip over the archaeologist.
Well, the one that came to mind for me was like, I don't know, BioShock and stuff like that, where you're doing the same like pipe puzzles to like hack systems and stuff. There's none of that.
No.
Like, granted, there are a couple of like puzzle frameworks that get repeated, but there will be variations within that. But there's enough variety there. Like, it is a puzzle game. It's an immersive sim with puzzle elements rather than an action game or anything like that, I think.
There's an absolutely like batshit one. This is a little bit of a spoiler, but like saw you having to figure out how to work a forge. Like, that wasn't on my bingo card, and I still don't really understand how the puzzle worked. And there's this great throwaway line in it somewhere about like how some of these ancient, do you know those films? The thing about the films that you always watch and you're like, hang on a second. It's like, okay, so there's traps, right? In all of these ancient temples. Who's resetting the traps?
Yeah.
And there's actually this throwaway line in this game about like how there's a theory that some of them are actually kind of rites of passage. So, you know, if you're part of that community, let's face it, as a young man, because we've been going to do anything fun back in the olden
like
days.
resetting traps.
No, but you would go through and that would be your test. And if you survived or got to the end safely, then you'd be a man of the village or whatever. But then obviously somebody would have to reset them. So like, again, even that, they've thought about the
you
films
thinking
and what
about
people
this.
figure out. And it's just a throwaway tiny line, but it's stuck in my head because I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And that made all the films make sense. I'm like, amazing. But
retcon.
No,
still in my closing argument.
Yeah, I can tell.
When I lean forward and I bang the desk, then you'll know I'm done.
Okay.
So I can go get my jacket if you want.
No, you're good.
But yeah, I think basically nothing outstays its welcome. The locations as well aren't too long, particularly those linear ones, but I think even the bigger ones, with just the plot and in my case the puzzles, felt about the right amount of time. I didn't feel the need to poke around and find every collectible, but it felt like I had really gotten a good amount of stuff out of them. And I just think it's everything has been thought about. What is the optimum amount of time to make people feel that happy fuzzy feeling of, I love this franchise and I love the way those films made me feel, and I felt it again, and not make you feel, hang on, there's a reason the films are only 2 hours long. Do you know?
Yeah.
You know, even that theme tune that we were talking about, where it's safe for impact, that could have been so tempting to whack it out at every juncture, and it was just these little stings here and there to really make you feel like you were in it. So for me, it was such a good mix of puzzling and satisfying fighting, even if I was terrible at it, like beyond terrible at it.
But it
like
made for an
handing over the
entertaining
controller.
watch. It made for a really entertaining watch.
Yeah, and even being bad at fighting kind of fit a little bit, you know, like Indy's not a professional fighter.
No.
And yeah, I felt immersed. I felt like it was truly part of the franchise and part of the film, and I can't say enough good things about Troy Baker's insane voice acting.
Yeah. It's something else in it. It's really good. And I think like I would love to see other games take cues from this, like particularly like immersive sim type things where combat is not necessarily going to be the be all and end all, but you're going to have to, you know, think laterally sometimes, because in this you can flip a gun round and use it as a club, and throw it and all that kind of stuff, and like use it for distractions rather than just shooting things. And it so much of this game speaks to just being really considered, and I had genuinely had a lot of fun with it, which does not happen very often nowadays. Like, I actually wanted to go and play it.
I was waiting for that to drop.
Like, seriously, that is basically what it boils down to for me. Like, I actually wanted to play it.
But like, honestly, you make a really good point, because there's a game coming up in a few weeks' time that I've been playing, and I'm like, the same sort of feeling where it's like, just can't wait to get back to it, and you kind of... Yeah, not every video game does that.
No.
Or every story, or even every a cycle within a movie. Sometimes you get like Dial of Destiny, the 50 Indiana Jones film. That is in like, it's 2.5 hours long, and it has some really good concepts in it. And actually, Harrison Ford plays old Indy quite well, as you would expect, but it just goes on and on and on. And I'm like, and there was a few times as a cycle in my head where I was like, I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out.
Yeah.
Whereas this sounds like for you guys, the entirety was in, all in.
Felt like a return to the glory days. And yeah, like it for me, it's definitely in top 3 Indiana Jones things.
Yeah.
So yeah, 10 out of 10 from me.
Oh, that's a really good way.
10 out of 10 from me. Easy.
Okay, right. That's fine. I mean,
Me as well.
I'll be doing the scoring here.
No, I just want to make it on the records.
Okay.
On the records.
Okay.
This is horseshit. Unbelievable.
I didn't realise this was a free play too.
Well,
at the beginning of the episode.
Well, it was. I mean, right, okay, let's get a couple of things straight here.
We have to take all of your episodes.
I'm not going to get any of a score in there. That's fine. I was going to give it that anyway. Number 2, like my phone melted last time. It got to like 1 hour 15 and intends to. So, do I try and squeeze in a a review of my game, which just has one tedious link to the 30s, or do I just save myself a whole week of gaming?
Save it.
Yeah, do a bonus pod at some point.
Well, it doesn't even need to. It could just literally bump to the next time's a free play, and I can just literally bump everything down. So if anything, just save me a whole week. I can stick on the game that I'm really, really enjoying now, rather than worrying about kind of rushing to the end of it. It's absolutely fine. And the only reason I kind of played this game anyway is because it was going off Game Pass, and I was like, I really need to play it before it goes off Game Pass. So, and that's done. I've finished it, so it's fine. I feel pretty good about that. So, like a 10 out of 10 game, and I don't have to do any work. Brilliant.
Bang it. There you go.
I literally can't argue with that. That's the top end of millennial. Like that's what I am. I'm really good at that. Right. Thank you very much for listening, guys, and we'll see you again soon.
Cheers.
Yeah, I'm like, that's fine by me. That's cool.
Yep.
Don't worry.